King Kong in the trunk.
I'm back. Rhodes Rants on the Joker. I just got out of the Joker about 45 minutes ago. Or Joker without the. And what I will begin with is I will tell you this movie will set with you. It will stay with you. I thought about it all the way home. I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to think about this movie. For full disclosure, I've never disclosed this on my channel. A few creators, like maybe 3 or 4 in the community, know I suffer from social anxiety. I do suffer from some depression. And this movie was a tough watch for me, okay? It's sort of an indictment of where mental illness has gone in society. This movie is set in 1981. Of course, Joaquin Phoenix ultimately becomes Joker. His name's Arthur Fleck. Frances Conroy plays his mother. There will be spoilers throughout this. I don't believe in non-spoiler reviews. Otherwise, you might as well turn the camera on and say, liked it, hated it, hang up. This is, I would say, the most grounded, realistic movie that's ever been connected to a comic book, in my opinion. This is really about a mentally deranged man, mentally unstable man, that progressively loses it until the last 20 minutes of the movie becomes Joker. He learns about certain things from his life that does cause an ultimate breaking point. You realize that he is actually experiencing things that aren't really happening. He's lived partially a lie his entire life. He finds out that ultimately, after a trip to Arkham State to get his mother's records, because she was once there, he finds out that he was abused by her and her boyfriend or boyfriends over time, including head trauma, which most likely led to this condition where he laughs uncontrollably during situations that aren't funny. This movie has what I would say a lot of Taxi Driver. It's got twinges of movies like maybe Goodfellas. Oddly enough, and this is going to be a strange one for people, but I owned a horror website for years. The progression in which he ends up being the Joker. In Rob Zombie's Halloween, you see a progression from a small child in a terrible environment progress over time into what would ultimately become Michael Myers. Now, it happens much faster in that film, and you don't get to see all the years because there's a flash forward. Whereas this picks up much later in Arthur's life, okay? He's a grown adult. He's probably a 40-year-old man. Bruce Wayne is in the movie. Thomas Wayne is in the movie. There are a few very subtle nods to Batman and that world. And, of course, the ending shows us something that we have seen in previous incarnations before in the Batman story, okay? The movie absolutely ends in such a way they could do a sequel and or tie it in to the Batman. I know they say that will not happen, but they left it plenty open-ended that if they want to tie it into the Batman, they can. I continue to say, keep in mind the Batman is going to take place in the 90s. This is 1981. The timelines could theoretically hook up if they wanted to make them hook up. And Joaquin Phoenix gives by far the best performance I've seen all year in any movie. Maybe arguably the best performance I saw all last year in any movie. As far as serious performances, definitely the best one. As good as Robert Downey Jr. was in, say, Avengers Infinity War, and even in parts of it towards the end of Endgame, he was actually, Keanu Reeves and John Wick. This is a serious movie. This movie, it will be a flooring shock if this movie is not up for Best Picture, and if Joaquin Phoenix is not up for Best Actor, and if Todd Phillips is not up for Best Director. It's a beautifully shot movie. You feel like you are dropped right into the middle of 1981 Gotham. As grounded in realism as Chris Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy could be, this is more of everyday life realism. Heath Ledger was historically great as the Joker. This is like a completely different take. And I don't know that I can separate the two because I hold the Dark Knight trilogy in such high regard, and that performance from Heath Ledger in such high regard. Far as actual more comic booky performances, which I thought that was a more realistic take on the Joker. No, this is the definitive real life take on what would become the Joker. Okay, because it's not bound by feeling like a comic book and having those comic booky things. No, this is like you're watching a movie of the downward spiral of a mentally ill man. I think a lot of your normal moviegoers expecting comic booky things, in all honesty, are not going to like this movie, believe it or not. I think if you appreciate excellent performance and you appreciate great filmmaking, you're going to love this movie. But you're going to have too many, like there were some younger boys in the audience that came in by themselves today. And I think, oh, I'm coming to see Joker movie because it's tied to Batman. And while theoretically it might be, that's not what this movie was. It is a slow burn. It is a dramatic, warped, slow burn. It's almost what I refer to as a great movie that's a tough watch. It's a great movie that I don't know that I wouldn't go see this again in the theater. I would own it later, but I probably would only want to watch it once every year to 2 years. Whereas I can watch the Dark Knight trilogy twice a year or 3 times a year because there's something still upbeat and hopeful about that movie. There's a very little feeling of hope in this movie. And oddly enough, you do feel some triumph from Joaquin Phoenix when he becomes Joker. You're like, Arthur can be who he's gonna be, which in itself was sad. I mean, if I'm doing a scale of 1 to 10, this movie's a 10 out of a 10. On a movie scale with the sense of something that is dramatic and serious. In other words, I loved The Lion King. It was my number 1 movie of the year. But this is a different kind of movie, and it's so much more serious that it's almost like I have to say, yes, this is the best movie of the year. But whereas I'd watch The Lion King 5 times in the next year, maybe, because it brings me a better feeling than this movie does, I can't do that with Joker. It's too serious. It's emotionally draining, and it is a highly superior film to anything I've seen this year from the standpoint of pure movie making, dramatically in the vein of Goodfellas, The Departed, Taxi Driver. We're talking historically great movies. This will be looked at as a historically great drama in the scales of movie history. It is that good, people. It is. It's absolutely worth the price of admission to go see this movie. But be prepared, because it will drain you. It will set with you. It will make you think after it's over. It will make you think about, wow, wrong turns. One too many bad things happened to you. And if you're not hinged just right, yikes. It's also sort of an indictment of how badly we need to refocus on mental health in this country. I don't normally speak in terms like that on this channel. I don't give a shit. As somebody that suffers from social anxiety and depression and all these other things, nobody really gives a fuck. Okay? So at some point that's got to start being a priority for people. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.